Good evening. I'd like to get started tonight. First thing I'm going to do is review our public comment policy for the town. There were copies over on the side table for anybody who may not be familiar with it. It's requested that individuals or representatives for groups who wish to make a statement during public comment, it says pick up a numbered card. We're not going to do numbered cards. We're just going to go one at a time. Speakers will have up to 5 minutes to make their statements. In the event that a group of persons supporting or opposing the same position wishes to speak, a spokesperson will be designated to express the group's concerns. Speakers will be courteous in their language and presentation. If possible, it is requested that speakers stand, and we do have a mic set up, so I'm going to ask you to please come to the mic and be seated when finished. Comments must be related to legitimate town business. It is requested but not required that speakers begin by stating their name, address, and any organization, if any, that they belong to. Speakers will direct their statements to the town board as a whole and not individual board members or the audience. Discussion or debate between speakers and members of the audience will not be allowed. Action items on the agenda will be discussed as scheduled. The town board will not likely take any action on a subject for which they have not had the opportunity to fully investigate and gather complete information. I want to remind people that this is public comment. If individuals have questions, we will record your questions. Prior to opening from the floor, I would like to enter into the record the response from Shenango County on the 239 review, as well as the comments that the county has made. Copies of those things have been provided for the board. I also would like to enter into a record a letter I received from Wendy Wahlberg that she asked be presented at the public hearing. Where did I put my legal notice? Notice is hereby given the town of Guilford will hold a public hearing on August 14th at 7 p.m. at the Guilford Town Hall located at 223 Marble Road for purpose of hearing public comments on a proposed renewable energy systems local law. Copies of the proposed local law are available in the town clerk's office during regular business hours as well as on the town website. At this point in time, I'd like to open public comment to the floor. May the first person come up to the microphone and address the board.
My name is Mebe Kim. I live on White Hill Road in Guilford.
Okay, please speak into the mic. Into the mic.
Okay. I'd like to disclose that I have signed a lease. And I'd like to just take you through a little bit of my journey. It was a process from the first time Calpine approached me. And I didn't know too much about it. I was skeptical. And so I went to familiarize myself with what it looked like, what it sounded like. And I did whatever I could in the near vicinity. And I was quite comfortable with what I saw. Then I heard objections from friends and acquaintances, including some people that are in this room that have been dear friends of my late husband. And I decided to do a little bit more study on it. So I had invited Professor Hoffmeyer, who is the chairperson of Morrisville Agricultural Engineering Department, who is very well versed in all the forms of energy. And so he came to the restaurant and he gave us probably something that lasted 2+ hours of information. And I don't have a very good memory, so I probably can't recite everything he said, but some of the points that I do remember, he tried to cover all the negative points of having windmill. the falling prices of real estate, the inaudible sound that it creates for some people, the safety factor, the danger, the chaos of the construction period, and the visual that it's too tall, just too tall. Well, he dispelled many of these things for me personally because he came with data instead of hearsay. And I think we can have another chance to hear him if anybody here would like to have that chance. So I will just go over the things that I do feel comfortable explaining because some things were very scientific and I don't know. But he was saying that the falling prices come from the anticipation or the anxiety of falling prices more than the falling price itself. So people sell quickly because it's coming, they're worried about it. So naturally, it's going to decline. Safety issues, there are concerns. The sound, there are concerns. One of the things he explained to us is that the way the sound travels, when it's taller, it's a vertical level that shoots right down, so that the distance that the sound carries is not as great as you imagine. So, construction chaos, I think we're going to go through that for a year or two, no matter how we look at it. But what I've seen other places when it was all done and the grass grows back, it is so minimal. It's just one little pole going up. And I think there are people who have come to me personally and said, I'm a NIMBY, not in my backyard. I don't want to be a test case. And it's a big company just coming to a vulnerable town and so on. And I actually thought about this for a while because individually we can't do projects like this. It takes a big company. And I'm not ready to give up my toaster oven or getting a hot shower when I jump in the shower. We need something in the meantime. And we are vulnerable. That's why we have the board working very hard. And so the town board is to protect us from whatever may happen that we don't even think about. And there are other towns that have gone through a lot of trouble because they were not prepared and they didn't have a board like we do. So wind is not perfect, but compared to other things, I think it's a lot less problematic. And we can think of ourselves as pioneers rather than guinea pigs.
Okay, Mimi, I'm going to say you've
Thank
used
you.
about your 5 minutes. Thank you. I want to thank you for your comments. I want to remind people that the comments tonight should be specifically directed to comments about the proposed renewable energy law, and that's what the purpose of the public hearing is. Whoever would like to speak next, you have the floor. Okay, we've got two. Sure. Okay, I'll try to let you know you've got 5 minutes, okay? Thank you.
Not a problem. Not a problem at all. Good evening. I'm Linda Zazak, and I'm a Mount Upton resident. Joe and I want to thank George and the town board for conducting a diligent and thoughtful review on wind farm development and drafting a fair and balanced local law that enables wind development in the town of Guilford, while taking the concerns of the residents into account. Thank you. Your responsible leadership has positioned the town to sustain intergenerational well-being by expanding opportunity to be broadly shared by all residents. By embracing the growth, the town of Guilford contributes to the ongoing growth of our county and region. This will allow equal access to a more solid economic foundation. Your leadership, your entire leadership, on behalf of the town of Guilford, is to be commended. Thank you.
Okay. Once again, next, please.
Susan McIntyre. I live in Rockwell's Mills, and I'll be very, very brief
Speak into it.
and a little closer to the microphone.
Might want to pull it up just a bit.
Yeah, there we go.
There you
Okay. I would like to thank the town board for taking the time and bringing in the legal and engineering resources necessary to put together what I believe is a well-reasoned, thoughtful local law to address not only to address multiple forms of alternative energies that can be land intensive. So my comments are very brief. I just want to say thank you. I especially want to thank the fact that the local law addresses the question of what decommissioning and or abandonment, or what do you do when the infrastructure is beyond its useful life. I think that's a piece that has so long often been not included. So thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to ask people to please hold your applause. Next, please.
Good evening, Supervisor Senek and members of the town board. I'm Todd Dreyer, and I live at 106 Pleasant Street in the city of Norwich. Thank you for the opportunity to comment. I don't live in the town of Guilford, so I understand if my comments might not and perhaps should not carry the same weight as those of a town resident. I am not an authority on wind or solar energy. I am, however, generally supportive of wind and solar energy. I'm a retired municipal land use planner with more than 20 years of experience at the City of Norwich and the City of Poughkeepsie. Even though tonight's public hearing concerns the consideration of a proposed local law on renewable energy systems, I'm sure everyone is viewing the proposed law within the context of the proposed Calpine High Bridge wind project. And as I am also aware, most everyone is by now, or pardon me, I'm sure everyone is aware by now that unlike most land development proposals that are regulated by the local municipality, the permitting of wind turbines and other forms of electrical power generation systems are preempted by the state of New York away from local municipalities. So with regard to permitting of the currently proposed High Bridge project, the people of Guilford and the town government of Guilford are very much at a disadvantage. There is no doubt that the proposed 30 wind turbines will drastically change the visual character of the town for as long as the turbines are in place. And no, I would not like to look out any window of my home and see a 60-foot wind tower. However, when state agencies review this project, they will be looking at it in a much broader context in terms of federal and state policies to achieve greater domestic energy independence and to derive more energy from renewable sources. I expect that they will also be looking at the anticipated negative impacts in comparison with the potential negative impacts of other forms of energy. Guilford's concerns may not ultimately win out in such a comparison. With regard to the proposed local law that is the subject of this public hearing. I believe it is a good attempt to protect the residents of the community within the relatively tightly constrained authority the town board may have to exercise on these types of land uses. The proposed local law asserts reasonable regulatory authority with regard to protecting various sensitive sites which are identified in the proposed law. It calls for a visual impact study with various mitigation measures. It imposes site plan type requirements, insurance protections, a road use agreement, and protections for abandonment of use. In short, this local law won't stop the Calpine project, but it will impose about as much regulation as I think the town can hope to accomplish. It should therefore be adopted. Thank you once again for the opportunity to comment.
Okay, thank you. Next, please.
My name is Lorraine Newell. I live on Shumway Hill. And for all of you that think this board has done such a remarkable job at supporting all of the town of Guilford, you must not have to look at them like some of us are going to have to. I think this board has done a pretty piss-poor job at taking care of all of the town of Guilford. And I am totally disgusted. And I am totally disgusted at the rest of you people that think that this is all okay.
Okay, thank you. And once again, I'd like to remind you that we're trying to address the items that are within the local law that has been proposed. Next, please.
Rebecca Young, I'm a Guilford resident.
Speak
Is this loud enough? Okay. Rebecca Young, I'm a Guilford resident, and I just have a comment relating to the draft, or the law that you guys are proposing. So last time that we met, one of the topics that you really focused on a lot, I think, relative to all the other topics, was around protecting wells and the water. And there was, again, substantial conversation and about how far away for blasting and all the setbacks and the requirements for that. And, you know, I jotted all those notes down, as I know a number of us did. And it looks like you didn't implement any of those changes. And I was just kind of curious why something that you guys even seemed to think was so critical and imperative, important, and jumped on, and nothing was actually changed. So I'm actually referring to page 8. You changed the distance from 1,000 feet to 2,500 feet, and then on page 12 there were a number of different things. So the blasting, the distance went from 100 to 500. You went from 500 feet to 1,000 in number 2. Number 4, you went from 100 to 500, and so on and so forth. And this was all stuff that you discussed, but I don't actually see those changes. So I was wanting to, I know you can't answer because it's a comment period, but something I would like to know.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have recorded your question, and I'll try to get back to you. Next, please.
I'm here to address some of the board's concerns.
Can you speak up a little bit?
I'm here to address some of the board's concerns, like Rebecca just did, that you expressed in the July 10th meeting. I want to start on page 5, section 4, part E. There is no mention about certified surveys, which was a concern of the board. George even said we need to increase this standard. The board wanted to clarify what an updated survey is, wanted a survey performed, and provide a copy to landowners in regards to any part of the project, turbines, transmission lines, roads, etc. No change has been made of that. In section 4, part V, number 8, page 8, the board agreed and requested a second sentence be added. I quote, "Applicant shall comply with any road use, local use, or enter into an acceptable roads use agreement with town. Once again, the board expressed concerns. Still no changes have been made as well. And it was also expressed that if they did not comply, the project would be stopped. Why wasn't this added into the law? The board expressed heavy concerns about blasting, as well as you should. Section 8, page 8, section BB. The board requested blasting 1,500 be changed to 25. The draft still says 15. Also on page 12, all the board's concerns request was ignored. Part J, the board requested the following. Number 1, change 100 feet to 500 feet. Number 2, change 500 feet to 1,000 feet. Number 4, requested to change 100 feet to 500 feet. As I mentioned, these were your concerns, our town board's concerns, yet not a single concern was addressed or changed. May I ask, who is writing this law if your concerns are being unheard? Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hi, I'm Leslie Ford. I live on Marble Road. Wind companies target small towns like ours. They choose their targets much like a lion chooses his prey, looking for the seemingly weak to feed upon. They look for areas that appear poor and defenseless, with town governments that easily give in to greed and do not have the background or skills to defend their community. Wind companies dangle money in front of the town governments like a stake on a string in front of a hungry dog. They conquer one town and jump to the next. But here's what Calpine didn't count on. The residents of the town of Guilford may not be rich financially, but we are rich in so many other ways. We know what really matters in this world is not money. It is family and friends and neighbors that stop to visit when they see you outside. It's hearing peepers in the spring and crickets in the summer. It is fresh air and the breathtaking view from the top of a hill. It is the smell of hay and the quiet of falling snow. It is watching a deer in a meadow and millions of stars in the night sky. It is seeing an eagle fly over your home. It is giving to your neighbor when he is in need, and it is coming together when we are in jeopardy. Our town board and a few of our residents may have been overcome by greed, but this is not the true character of Guilford. I say this without compromise or regret. We are done being lied to. If the town board will not protect the health, safety, and well-being of this community, then we will do it ourselves. Our town government may be weak, but we are not. This is not a done deal, and this is not over.
Once again, I'll ask that people hold their applause. Next, please. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board at this public hearing?
I came totally unprepared. But I do have one thing to say.
You speak into the mic, please.
I'm an investor. I moved here from New York City 20 years ago for the sole purpose of finding utopia. And I did so with some trepidation, but you had the right things shown in terms of Procter & Gamble being here and a community that seemed to be the type of place I wanted to be in. As an investor, I put in a great deal of money into my property and other properties that I bought and invested heavily.
Can you speak into the mic, please?
My last point is, with what I know today, if I came here today to invest, I wouldn't. The economics don't make sense. The community is suffering from basically hardship. It's a welfare state. and I would not have put $1 into this community. And if I saw a windmill, a wind turbine, I would have moved to another space.
Thank you. Next, please.
My name is Gary Lakis. I live on the Fred Smith Creek Road. Okay, and what I want to address is the last time that we had a meeting, it was a question and answer. And I started with a question, got my answer there. Right there, okay, we got it. You have to lower these things for short folk. Anyway, my question was to the town board, is that I had recited with the building code when that was being developed, there were many, many members that included fire marshals, building inspectors, engineers, technical engineers, all sorts of different expert experience. And my question was, that I never got an answer to, is why hasn't the board taken that opportunity to incur and contract with, as necessary, experts that have a background in the construction of 700-foot towers, the concrete work that's going on. I mean, I see, and not to belittle, because we're all necessary to survive in this land. But I see teachers, and I see some farmers, that's great, okay? But none of you have the expertise to be an expert to determine what the safety factors are involved. And I wanted to know why. Why haven't you contacted the experts? Not Calpine, who's certainly going to give you the answers that they want to give you, but with various other people who have objections or different points of view on the many, many safety factors to protect our health and safety. Why hasn't that been done when you've been working on this for God knows how long? That's my question. I'd like an answer.
Okay, thank you. Once again, I'm going to ask that comments be directed about and specific to the proposed renewable energy law. Anyone else who would like to speak at the public hearing at this point in time? Once again, is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Hello, my name's Betty Boland. I'm new as a permanent resident to the area. Our home is at Highbridge Road. My question is regarding the protected Kent Brook. I did not see that in the renewable energy law, and I don't know why, as it sits downhill from what I could determine from the map, less than 2,500 feet probably.
Can you repeat that? I did not catch that. I'm sorry.
Kent, I'm concerned about Kent Brook, which is a protected, New York State protected stream. It sits downhill from the turbine field about 2,500 feet is my best estimate from being able to measure with a ruler on the map. I'm concerned that that's not on the list of sensitive sites. And what will be done to prevent any kind of possible chemical runoff from either the construction or maybe if there was de-icing, it's going to come right down into that creek as far as logic dictates. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
My name is Dan Harrington. I live on Keach Road. This project is going to permanently change the character of this town. Permanently. That's a question that was asked during the question and answer meeting that we had. which Calpine was allowed to do a full presentation at the beginning of, which we did not agree to and was not supposed to be part of it. But to the question of, will this permanently change the character of our town? After some hesitation, George answered, yes, this will. This is not a protective wind law. You wrote this wind law to every ask that Calpine has made has been granted. You have a majority of your town speaking to you, who you're supposed to be working for. You started out with suggesting 5 times the tip height, and we were encouraged by that. In every subsequent meeting since then, it's gone down and down and down. And you were actually below what Calpine originally asked. And they conceded by going back up to their bare minimum ask of 1,500 feet. Now, are you really representing the town and doing what's best for us? That doesn't feel like it is to us. The people's voices that you hear are not the leasers. We have no money to gain. We have everything to lose. We have to live here. We have to live near these. And now at 1,500 feet away, for a very specific 676-foot turbine, which is what Calpine asked for and received, that is unsafe. It's absolutely unsafe. At 40 decibels yearly average for sound, your own lawyers told you this could actually be 80 decibels at some point because it's averaged. And when you would deliberate with him about the law, he said many times, it is up to you, the town board, it's up to you. You can write this wind law, and it has great authority. It's not up to him, it's up to you. So when these go up and there's problems and people have to live too close to these, I want the town to remember that they had an opportunity to put whatever setbacks they wanted. You could have done 20 times the height setback. You could have done that. It's not a protective wind law, and I want everybody to remember who wrote it right here. Thank you.
Okay, once again, I'm going to ask people to be respectful of our public comment policy and to hold your applause. Next, please. Once again, is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding the proposed hybrid wind law?
Hello. My name's Charlene Knowles. I live on County Road 36. Directly across from where a battery holding facility is being proposed. In the wind law, that some people say that you put so much time and effort and thought into, that battery holding facility wasn't even mentioned. It was given as a definition and lumped in with equipment. No one has even addressed the fact that it is sitting uphill from a creek that feeds livestock, and eventually a creek that goes into the entire town's water. And you guys didn't write a single line about it in your law. How can anyone think that you guys put time and effort into protecting us when that is proposed, sitting above the entrance of a creek that eventually feeds your families, your livestock, your water? An entire law, 25 pages, and not a single line about it except in a definition. That is gross negligence. You also mentioned right of way. Again, one line in a definition of right of way. If that law goes through, as you all have written and spent so much time and care so much about your people and the people that live here, that pay your wages, that pay taxes every year, a fifth of my property is going to be gone. A fifth of my property will be used by strangers that I did not sign a lease with. If your law goes through as written, that is not protective, and no one here can convince me that it is. And I am ashamed that a battery holding facility slipped through. It snuck in. How long have you guys been working on this? I spoke to you 2 years. 2 years, and you never questioned a battery holding facility uphill from a creek? And we're supposed to trust you to protect us? Someone should have thought about that. Someone should have addressed it. And there should have been more than one line in an entire law that said something about it. There should be something more than one line about right of way that literally uses the word forced in it. I am not going to lose a fifth of my property because I can't trust you to protect us.
Okay, next, please.
Michelle Hartwell. I live on High Bridge Road. And once again, I'm going to address the setbacks. According to the legal dictionary, the legal definition of protection is the benefit or safety which the government affords to the citizens. This is supposed to be our protective wind law, yet you have seen fit to decrease setbacks for non-participating boundaries at big businesses' suggestion. Beginning in May of this year, the writing of this law has been rushed through by you without having experts research the effects that these distances will have on our residents. If Calpine has been active here in our community since 2016, and you had to know about it because you had at least one sitting board member who is now a leaseholder, then why did it take you so long to begin to write this law? If you had written the protective wind law at that time, our setbacks would be at least as stated in your first draft, not the cut down version we are now having at Calpine's prompting. At the time of the first draft, when you were questioned as to why you chose the particular distances you stated, because they were the state norms. So why are we asked to settle for less? Do the right thing and rethink this. Are you really protecting the welfare and safety of your residents? Or are you being sheep to Calpine's predatory scheme? In which case, I ask you to be a sheepdog instead.
Thank you. Next, please. Is there anyone else who would like to speak with regard to the proposed renewable energy systems law at this time?
Richard Inc., Mount Upton, Rockwell Mills. I look you guys in the eyes and I beg you, do not pass this law as written. Go back to the drawing board, get some experts on your side, get some good information. Please, do not pass this law as written. Don't let Calpine shove this down all of our throats. Think about it. Please, I beg you. George Seneck, I beg you. Don't pass this law as written. Go back to the drawing board. Do it over.
Okay, next, please. Is there anyone else who would like to speak at this time? Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Seeing no one moving forward, I declare that the public hearing is now closed. I'm going to ask that we take a brief recess to consult with our attorney. I'll entertain a motion from a board member to do so.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's going to carry. We will be meeting in private with our attorney. We will resume in a short time. We do have a second public hearing scheduled on a subdivision. When we return, we will move directly to that.
Where do you want to go?
No, you do not need to come. We'll be using the break room, please. Good evening. We're reconvening from a recess meeting with our attorney. At this point in time, although it is on the agenda, the town board has decided to take no action on the proposed law tonight. We will not be voting on it. We've decided that we are going to continue to do some work based on the number of comments that we have received from Shenango County and a number of residents tonight. I do want to turn this over to our attorney to explain a few concerns of the board as we move forward.
So, as some of you know, and some in the public might know, Highbridge did submit their full application earlier this week. So the entire application for their project has been submitted already. So part of what we've discussed all along here is there is some urgency here. It is not something we can just keep working on forever and ever if we want it to actually be applied to this project by the Article 10 Siting Board. So there's a 60-day period where comments are submitted on the application, and that then the examiners in the project are going to make a determination of whether the application is complete or not. Their application right now says that there is no local law applicable to this project. So if we continue down this path, there will be a point that we maybe go beyond a point of no return here. Now, they have acknowledged that there's a pending local law and that they will consider it, but I don't want to keep pushing this to a point where they have an opportunity to argue to the examiners that, well, now we're so far down this project and designing it that it'd be burdensome for us to comply with any changes to a local law at this time. So I've seen this happen in other cases. So there is some urgency here in adopting a local law. It may not be perfect. It may not be something that everybody wants, but it's certainly, if you adopt nothing, nothing will be applied. So timeline-wise, I think probably the best thing is to hold a special meeting or use your special meeting that's coming up for budgeting to probably continue to work on this and possibly reintroduce a new version as quickly as you can. So those are my thoughts on that, and hopefully the public can take a look at the application as well. So any feedback you can get on the application might help as well, because now they've identified where turbines might be. They've identified a lot of information just this week. So I'll be meeting with the engineering expert that you guys have hired to review that application carefully and start compiling comments and start running them through you. But if you guys have any comments, you need to submit them to me. If the public has any comments on the application specifically, the citizens group, certainly please present those. If you could present them all maybe to the clerk or to George and consolidate them, that would be helpful. This is our opportunity as a party to the process to actually influence the process and influence the application and influence the examiner's decisions as the process goes along. So those are my comments on that.
Okay, just a quick couple of other things. I heard tonight the mention that we have not sought experts. We have hired a environmental engineer who's been working with us, I think, since towards the end of January. He was at our July 15th meeting. I'll report in my financial report that locally we have spent somewhere north of $28,000 this year on legal and consulting fees. In addition to that, there's been a tremendous amount of research, which you're welcome to come in and take a look at. I do know some people have been into the town hall. There's probably 3,000 pages plus of documentation on all sorts of health concerns, turbine setbacks, and so forth that are there. At this point in time, we do have another public hearing. I want to apologize to the people who are here for that. I'd like to read the legal notice, and we would like to proceed with that. The Guilford Town Board will hold a public hearing on August 14th, 2019. It says at 7:30. We're a little bit late at the Guilford Town Hall at 223 Marble Road for purpose of discussing a proposed subdivision of Von Horrider tax map number 244.1-4 located at 315 Horrider Road in the town of Guilford, Shenango County. Anyone wishing to speak on the proposed subdivision, please come forward. Once again, is there anyone here tonight who would like to speak on the proposed subdivision?
George, would you want, I have some questions on this. Would that be something I bring up now? You want me to wait till we get to that?
That would wait till
the
where it
agenda?
appears on our agenda.
Okay.
Okay, seeing and hearing no one at this point in time, I declare the public hearing on the proposed subdivision closed. At this time, I'd like to call to order the regular monthly meeting of the Guilford Town Board. I'm going to ask Councilmember Fogarty to please lead us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first item of business for tonight is the approval of the July 10th and July 17th minutes. What is the board's pleasure in this regard?
Move we dispense with the reading of both.
Okay, a motion has been made to dispense with the reading of both sets of minutes.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's going to carry. What action do you want to take on the minutes?
I move we accept the minutes as presented.
Okay, a motion has been made to accept the minutes as presented, both sets.
George, I
Second.
need to abstain because I was not at one of the meetings.
Okay.
The second meeting.
Why don't we do them separately then?
Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion for the minutes for the July 10th meeting first.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's going to carry. Motion for the second set of minutes, please, on July 17th.
Move we approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Discussion? All in favor then?
Aye.
Abstention? Gail, did you get that? Oh, okay. She raised her hand and abstained.
I don't think I was quite close enough to the mic.
Okay, once again, for our general meeting from the floor, is there anyone who wishes to address the board on any matter from the floor? Hearing no one, we're going to proceed with our regular meeting. First report is the supervisor's report. Copy of this report has been placed in each one of your folders. My report's here someplace. Thank you, Gail. Supervisor's report. The last 3 years, the last 3 Shenango County IRT programs, which have been provided by the U.S. military, the report is that it provided about $2.5 million in medical services to the residents of Shenango County. I don't have the actual figures for the program that was held this last July. I will get that to you as soon as I have it. On August 26th, I participated in the Shenango County Ag Tour. We visited Sova Farms, which is an organic farm in North Norwich. They are doing vegetables and raise organic chickens. Their market really is New York City. I think it's an alternative to farming in this area. I was a little surprised, but an organic chicken sells for $5 a pound. And there is a market for those things. There are some concerns with restrictions placed on organic farming in New York State that, once again, we're going to, at the county level, try to address with some state legislators. We also visited the Pella Farm, which is in Oxford. They, last year, set up a corn maze. We took a look at what they have. It is a way to supplement their farm income. They had over 4,200 visitors to their corn maze last year. But once again, it's another, I'm going to say, creative way for people who are involved in farming to supplement their income and continue to remain in the business. Their daughter and her fiance do plan on very shortly taking over the family farm. We also visit Q-Tix Honey, which is now located south of Oxford. It's a really nice facility. If you have an opportunity to go there, they do tours. It is located along the historic Shenango Canal. You can actually see where one of the canal locks were, and I would probably encourage you to sample some of their products. They're local. I believe they're one of the largest honey producers in New York State, and they're here in Shenango County. In your packets, I provided a copy of an email for the required sexual harassment training. If the board wishes, I'll schedule a time where people can watch it at the town hall, or you may do that on your own. It's not that hard to get to, but we do have to complete that by October. And if you do it on your own, you're going to be asked to sign off on it with the town clerk. Received a packet of materials for the 2020 census. I will put these in the lobby of the town hall. If there's anything here that people would like, please let me know and I will ask. I only have one copy, but I was told that more of these materials are available. There is a sign down by the town hall. They are looking for local workers. I think they're paying $17.35 an hour, and there is flexibility in that. And they would like to have people from their local communities do the canvassing in each of the towns in Shenango County. I have a copy of the Bull Thistle Bulletin, which is from the the Shenango County Office on Aging. It's someplace here. As soon as I find it, I'll send it around. I also have received a calendar that was put together by the county DWI program, where they have young students submit pictures and posters to discourage drunk driving. If anybody would like the calendar, you're welcome to have that. I have received a fact sheet and a notice of public hearings. I'm assuming the public has heard that NYSEG, which is your transmission company, has requested a 20% increase from the Public Service Commission. There is a time frame that the public can respond to that. On part of the county, the Shenango County Board of Supervisors has responded. They have entered comments into that, once again opposing the proposed rate increase. If anybody would like to see that, it is on the town website also. I'd ask Gail to do some research. One of the things that I continue to hear is that the public simply does not know what is going on. We've tried to get information out there. We took a look at using the penny saver, which we can put legal notices in. We are going to continue to have to use the newspaper, but the cost would be $89 more per week per notice. Given the number of legal notices we do, I would estimate it would increase cost between $1,000 and $2,000 per year. But it is an opportunity. I assume more people at least get the penny saver. I don't know how many people actually take a look at that. But we're trying once again to get information out there on public meetings and so forth. In the board's packet, there is information on the Cornell Rural Roads summary. We had a program done to assess our highways this summer. I'm going to ask the Highway Committee in particular to take a look at that, meet with Bob Fleming, and report back to the board next month. I don't think there's any major surprises in there, but it does provide an assessment as well as a 5-year highway management plan and also budgeting concerns. Just for public interest, there is Shenango County Blues Festival this weekend. That is it for the supervisor's report. On to town clerk.
Also in your packets is a copy of the approved Section 284 agreement that you all approved last month. I gave you a final copy of that. There's also a report from the assessor. If there are any questions on that, you can contact Penny. Hunting licenses have gone on sale at this point. They went on sale August 1st. Doe permits are available until October 1st. Budget packets were distributed to everybody and are due back to us August 21st. And then I handed out, they weren't in your packets, they were additional. There was Justice Court Accountability. The Guilford Court was audited by the State Comptroller's Office, and we have gotten their written report back. It needed to be shared with the board at our first meeting after we got the report, that we do have it. It will be going in the newspaper, and it will be on our town website. It will be available for public inspection once we get everything out on the newspaper and so on. Everything else is business as usual.
I'm just going to briefly add, I had to write a response to the audit report, which will be in there, as well as a corrective action plan. We reviewed that with Judge Windsor. The state's satisfied that as we move forward in the auditing process, that the current justice will be providing some things to the board that have not been done in the past. Bruce's books have been up to date. I also queried the comptroller's office about training for electronic auditing. Currently, there is no training that the state is providing to audit electronic books, which has been one of my pet peeves for a number of years. It's very different than we're dealing with ledgers and paper copies. It said that there's something that they need to look into. I don't know how quickly that will happen. Okay, moving down, financial report. I once again, you have your financials.
I addressed my concerns earlier with Gail.
Okay, the first item of business is the July 2019 financials. What would the board like to do with these?
I move we accept them as presented.
Okay, a motion has been made to accept the financials as presented.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any other questions on the financials?
Oh, okay.
That was okay. It just, the last number was dropped off.
Oh.
I checked it to the budget. Everything adds up fine.
Thank you.
Okay, did we have a motion?
Yeah, I move to accept.
Motion has been made and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's going to carry. Supervisor's financial report. Excuse me. On page 5, interest and earnings, we have some good news. Interest rates are up. You can see it's significantly over the amount budgeted. And I think as we continue this year, as long as the interest rates don't fluctuate, we should have a pretty good year with the monies that we have in the bank. We received our second quarter sales tax. It will not show until next month because it just came in. It is slightly more than last year. Comparing to last year, I think we're about $10,000 ahead for the second quarter. You'll see that reflected in next month's financials. There will be a budget amendment under the supervisor's contractual. What we've been doing is coding legal and consultant expenses specifically related to the High Bridge project to that line. And you can see that we're over budget on that. In a few minutes, you will see the proposed budget amendment. Just for an FYI, when we're looking down the page under, boy, I'm losing it here. Moving down the page, when we take a look at central data processing, as a reminder, we are going to be having to update computers. We're looking someplace at replacing my computer, the town clerk's computer, the highway computer, because as of January 14th, we're running Windows 7 that will no longer be supported, and our computers are not capable of really handling Windows 10. They're 8+ years old. I did talk to the county. Currently, state bid is on HPs. The feeling was probably about $800 per unit, but that does not include any of the necessary software. We may look at other alternatives. We have been working with Dell more recently. We do have some credit with that company. Moving down, the Guilford and the Rockdale lighting districts are at 48%. We're going to be pretty close to budget. We have been approved for that LED street lighting upgrade. I'm going to hope that it happens pretty quickly and that our electric costs go down. Mount Upton lighting, I think we're going to reduce the budget. We simply have a large surplus there. Page 12, some good news. If you compare in the Guilford Water District the year to date to our ending fund balance, in the last few years we do have a slight fund balance there. I'm thinking between $12,000 and $14,000. As we have increased rates, but once again that money is going to get used for the upcoming project. And then our costs will increase because there will be additional loan payments that we will be needing to make. Any questions on the financials? Okay, we've already accepted them. Okay, moving down, there is a budget amendment in your packet. You have the complete amendment schedule for the year. I folded it out so that you can take a look at what's proposed for August. There's only one budget amendment, and it is to increase A 1220.4, which is supervisor contractual. The money, we've already expended all of our contingency money, and it's going to come from unassigned fund balance, and I'm asking to move $15,000. After we pay bills tonight, it will still leave a balance of about $4,500. Hopefully that we'll be able to take care of next month.
Move we approve as presented.
Okay, motion to approve the budget amendment as presented.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I made a notation, and I think I mentioned this before. In my budget summary, the town to date has spent $28,240, not including work that has been done by our attorney or consultants since our July 17th meeting on legal and consulting fees, most of which are related to the High Bridge Wind Project and our renewable energy law. There's about $2,000 of that which were spent on other legal items this year.
I don't know if now's a good time to bring this up, but we just got the contract signed for whatever reason, the state is really, really slow now. They're getting inundated with Article 10 applications, and it's slowed down the intervenor fund reimbursement process. For example, in the other town I represent, it's been months since a request has been made and actually paid. So unfortunately, and again, don't kill the messenger here, reimbursement might take a while. For the things that you can get reimbursed for. So we have to submit our reimbursement for the pre-application phase now that the application has been submitted basically within the next 2 weeks, even though we just got the contract, 3 or 4 days ago?
Right, correct.
So we'll try to get that turned around quickly, but there's no guarantee on how long it takes the state to turn it around for reimbursement. So just wanted to let you
And
know
for
that.
public information, we are not going to be reimbursed that entire amount. The town qualified for about $9,000, but under Article 10, there's very specific things that we can actually request reimbursement for.
Yeah, unfortunately, the biggest thing that you're not going to get reimbursed for is work done on the local law. They don't view that as being something that's reimbursable. So anything related to the project, you can reimburse. The work we'll do reviewing the application itself and the pre-application, that stuff is okay. But like local laws, road use agreements, road use. Pilot agreements, anything like that, usually they don't reimburse for. So, if I had to guesstimate, maybe half or a third, somewhere in that range. Most of what the engineer is doing, though, should be covered.
Right. Okay, thank you. Moving on. Going down, Bob Fleming is not here tonight. He has some family that just got into town that he hasn't seen for some time. Committee reports. Highway Committee.
Yeah, we met with Bob a couple weeks ago, probably, give or take. One thing, when I talked to him today, the scales at Mount Upton at the park.
Yep.
We talked about moving them over here, possibly, or moving them.
I think it would be my recommendation to the board. We've taken a look at that. Terry has looked at costs of repairing. We didn't put it on the agenda tonight, but I would entertain a motion to declare the scales that used to be used for some of the poles over there surplus and put them out to bid. We're not
Right,
going to
and-
keep them. We're not going to use them. And it
And-
really is a bit of a liability because they're in such poor condition if anybody was to climb on them and be injured.
Right. Just moving them isn't going to help them any.
No, I
They
would
ought to
leave
be
them
moved.
there, put
Right,
them
they ought
out,
to be
out
moved
to bid,
once.
and if somebody wants them, they come and remove them themselves.
Right.
But I
Okay.
would entertain a motion to put them out to bid.
So move.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and we'll do a legal notice on that. We're probably going to maybe cost us more than what we get for them, but we'll see.
Scrap steel.
Continuing.
Talked with Bob about Jeff's truck. He's in the process of getting an estimate on engine repairs so we can then determine whether that truck needs to move up in the replacement schedule or if we're going to have to move it. It's also going to need a new box in the next year or two.
2 years.
Which is 40,000. So,
Okay.
So we're kind of, he talked to the guy. As soon as he gets freed up, he's going to let him know, and they're going to take the truck up to Cherry Valley so we can look at it.
Okay, and we're a couple years out actually on replacing that truck, but we may have to.
Yes.
See
So
if
we asked him to get some repair costs so we can
Okay.
figure out.
Now, I can tell you at this point in time, we do not have enough money in the budget to buy another truck. We may by next year, but it won't be until 2020.
Right. Okay. He's been resurfacing roads. Everything as usual there. The other thing we talked to him about was the guardrails on Parker Road.
Okay.
The suggestion came up to look maybe into some guide posts instead of guardrail.
Okay.
So I believe Bob is.
Reflective post along the edge there.
Did I forget anything, Terry?
Well, he talked about roads. And, you know, some of the roads that they're working on, they're going to stone and oil I call it the feed store road, but it's Parker Road. And the only thing we've got to do with that
Terry.
is provide the stone. The company is going to provide the oil because there's something that wasn't quite right with it. So that's a savings for the town.
Okay. Is that it for highway? Thank you. Moving down, building committee.
Okay, we met August 2nd. And let's see, starting with the town hall, Justice Windsor several months ago had showed us the worn carpet in back of the justice bench and the Doordwas chambers, and we've been through a lot of rigmarole with the state trying to get that approved. We do have leftover carpet for that. I was able to get a hold of the carpet repairman. He will be coming next Tuesday at 9 o'clock in the morning to complete the job. So that's good news. Highway door issues. There have been problems with one of the bay door openers. I don't know. Wasn't able to get a hold of Bob to know if that's still an issue right now. I know Hayes has looked at it, and they still can't seem to figure out what's going on with that. Also, I know the front door has been an issue too, right? There's been some problems with the tumbler. The front door in the town hall, the automatic opening front doors, the entrance has been installed. They're working well. The outside door is in need of being sanded and primed and then repainted. Since there's some rust, we want to keep that from getting any worse. And hopefully this can be done by the summer help with supervision before their term ends. Mattapton Water, during the weekend of July 20th to 21st, there was a major drop in water pressure that Jeff and Paul discovered was due to an open hydrant near the water tank. About 150,000 gallons were lost. The hydrant was opened, we don't know how. A boil water advisory was issued, water tests were conducted, the coliform tests were fine, so the boil water advisory was lifted by Wednesday, July 24th. And Paul says the water and telemetry are now doing fine. Spectrum Internet and phone switchover quotes. I have sheets that I printed up, so I want to give those to you guys to look at.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll keep this one for me. And then, you guys, hopefully there's enough for everybody there. Last month, George had given the commission to us to investigate what the cost would be, and the possibility of going to Spectrum for our internet, phone, and cable TV, and what costs there would be. I talked to Tammy Crow, who is the Spectrum Enterprise Strategic Account Manager for Government Education up in Syracuse. And she gave me quotes. Now, there's some differences here. We have to split the town hall and the highway building into two separate accounts because they're two separate buildings and two separate connections. That wasn't done with Frontier. I've got options here without a static IP and with a static IP. George and I are we're still investigating whether we need the static IP or not. For the town hall, it was recommended actually to go with the 400 Mbps by 20 for the internet because we have we have several computers that are using that. So that would be the option 3 if it's without a static IP. It has more bandwidth, and I know George and Gail can tell you how they would love more bandwidth right now. Now, this one down at the bottom, it includes Wi-Fi for $4.99 extra a month, which is something that would be great. It also includes Spectrum Business Phone and for 3 numbers because, George, you had talked about keeping 2 in the town hall with Frontier just in case, sometimes power goes out and then Spectrum drops, and then having 2 up here for this. So this would be just for the town hall. So 3 phones, that's about $30 a month, and it's about $90 for that. So the total monthly cost would be $164.95, and then there's a one-time installation fee. And then with the static IP, that would increase the cost. As you can see, that would increase it by $14.99 a month. But we're still investigating if we need that or not. The highway department would now be separate, and so the option 1, that's without a static IP, is I don't believe we need a static IP for here. That would be the 100 Mbps times 10 internet because we only have 1 computer on there, so we shouldn't need anything more. And that would include the Wi-Fi, the business phone for 2 numbers, and a total cost of $109.96. Now, if we want, because I know Bob had said he would like the business TV package added. It is a possibility that we could get that for free, depending on our agreement when that agreement gets done. And my understanding is that should be soon.
Yes, I spoke with another attorney regarding where our franchise agreement is at. We're simply waiting for the figures to come back from Spectrum. Mm-hmm. Everything, I think, has been agreed to. At some point in time, the franchise agreement will require a public hearing. So we'll do notice of that. People can take a look at what the agreement is. We've been out of franchise agreement originally with Time Warner and then the subsequent company since 2012. We had negotiated an agreement when Council Member Miles was here. We did the public hearing, and then Time Warner backed out of the agreement that we had entered into. Yeah. And we simply have not had one. Which can be to the disadvantage of the town.
Right.
Okay.
Well, Tammy Crow said that she's been researching it, and it should be soon. That's what she said.
Well, that's what the attorney said yesterday.
Yeah,
Any day now.
Right. So we'll see. But we could go ahead and add the TV if Bob wants that, or we can wait and see if that's going to be something that we can get for free. That's something you guys can decide. I also wanted to include, I did research if we kept the 2 phone lines with Frontier, with all of this extra away from Frontier, and only just those 2 phone lines in the town hall, that would be an additional $94.95 that we would be paying Frontier. But that would be all we would be paying Frontier. And right now, we're paying something like $600.
We pay $691 for everything with Frontier currently. So hopefully we would realize some savings.
Yeah,
the bigger thing is the internet speeds, incredibly slow.
Yeah.
I went down tonight to try to connect to the internet. I was 10 minutes and I could not connect. And Brady, I was trying to check to see if you sent me any messages.
I'm sorry, it was.
No, it's just we have slow internet.
Yeah, here's the Frontier bill.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, $631.98 for 1 month.
Okay.
So that would be a big savings.
Okay. Anything else for building?
Yes, I have another thing. Any other questions you guys have before I move on? I mean, do you think that would be a good idea to move over to Spectrum rather than stay with the Frontier? 'Cause
I think we need to get the total price
Yeah.
and do a comparison and take a look at what we have. It's going to take a
gonna be
little while
less.
yet.
Yeah, it's going to be less. Okay, so she,
Solid numbers. Solid numbers to make a decision on that. I think this or that.
well, these are the numbers, these are solid numbers as far as Spectrum goes.
So we've just got to find out whether with static or without static.
That's really the only question right now. Yeah, because we
Then
know
do
this
we-
is what
Do we have
Frontier.
options other than keeping Frontier? For,
That's a decision we're going to have to make. If we keep Frontier for some of the lines, it's really going to be my recommendation that at least for a period of time, we keep at least 1 or 2 phone lines with Frontier to see how this works. I'm really going to look to move our internet over.
Yeah. Yeah, because the speed will be a lot faster, and George and Gail won't have to suffer any longer, hopefully, with that. Okay, I have one more thing, because one other thing we were assigned to look for had to do with chairs. I did a lot of research. Okay. I didn't make copies of this for everybody, but this is my recommendation, that chair, and it would be it goes through Home Depot, and there's 74 for a packet of 4. We would need 25 packets, and that would be $1,518.50. There wouldn't be any shipping if we had it shipped to store.
How many total would that give us?
What's that?
Total number?
Yeah, it's 1,518.
Total number of chairs.
Oh, 100 chairs.
Okay.
Because these are in packs of 4.
Okay.
So it would be 25 times the $60.74.
Okay.
It's my recommendation. They have a 10-year warranty. They can hold up to 480 pounds. So they're very, very sturdy. They're commercial grade. They're recommended for commercial settings. So you can pass it on and look at it if you want.
Are there any sort of like rack units or storage units that we can purchase? Because just to have a
Yep.
bunch of chairs.
Yep, yes. I have a whole bunch. There's several. I wanted to talk to Bob about these because,
Okay.
and I haven't been able to get a hold of him. But there's different, I'll just pass them on to you. You guys
Okay,
can
why
look at
why
them.
don't we
Just
look at that
pass them
next
on.
month in a little bit more detail?
You want me to
if you talk to
pass
Bob,
these on to you?
yeah,
Okay, I can
talk to Bob and make a recommendation on what you would take a look at.
Because there's
and-
different shapes and different sizes and so forth as far as that. But the ones that I found that I think would be as good as any would be coming from Walmart. And again, it's free shipping if we ship
Okay.
to store. So I think that would be the best deal for us.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. The rest of it I will do later for the park committee.
I'll send it back. I'll let her keep them. Okay, moving down under committee reports, planning committee, Bob.
Good evening. We have 2 subdivisions to consider tonight. First one, we're looking at the Baldwin subdivision, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Okay. I will do my best. Okay, here we go. Okay. This is a simple subdivision submitted by Joseph and Christine Baldwin. They own a 63-acre parcel, and basically they're trying to break out 3 acres where their son is going to build a house. The one consideration that was raised as we looked at this, you'll notice that there's a right-of-way to get to the 3-acre parcel. And in our code, we encourage people to use a 25-foot right-of-way, and in talking with the son, that is their intention. We also encourage people, in cases like this, to do a deeded right-of-way, and they are looking at that. So, in the long run, it's a safer way to set up a right-of-way, but it's not required in our code. So anyway, we reviewed it, had no concerns. County reviewed it, had no concerns.
Okay. Any questions that board members may have?
Motion to accept this recommendation?
Okay.
I move we accept this recommendation for this subcommittee of Baldwin's.
Subdivision.
subdivision.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve the Baldwin, Joseph, and Christine subdivision request 232.1-29.2. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's going to carry. Okay, Bob,
Okay.
the second one we had the hearing on?
Yep, second one is submitted by Von Hohreiter, and we have Judy Schwager with us tonight, who's representing Mr. Hohreiter. He's not a local resident at this point, so she represented him during the process. Basically, taking a portion of the old farm and dividing that into 4 parcels, and I think I'm right, Judy, that all the parcels are spoken for. So neighbors are going to purchase the parcels that they're creating through the subdivision process.
Okay, it's been reviewed by the county, 239 review.
Right.
There were no concerns.
There's a page missing on this that we were sent. There was no number 2 out of 4.
Yeah. I've got it in mind.
Oh, this was emailed to me.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I can.
Everybody else is like that too? It might have just pulled 2 pages at once when I scanned, because I do have page 2.
I can
2
show
out
you.
of-
I can
Can
show
I
you.
just see it real quick?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to check and make sure that was done. Okay, I'm good. You want me to? Okay, I make a motion to approve the subdivision.
Okay, second, do I hear?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the proposed Harrider Vaughn 244.1-4 subdivision. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's going to carry. Thanks, Bob. Mount Upton Park Committee.
Alrighty. Okay. Under old business, they had a routine inspection done. They need a belt for the baby swing. I think they're kind of in a quandary as to where to get it. The scales, they would like them to go up for bid. They need somebody to remove them. Any metal can go for scrap. Also, the bleachers need to be taken down and do the same thing with them, the metal going for scrap. So somebody would need to mow around the bleachers so they can be taken apart. And again, that would be Bob. He's not here.
I'm just going to update you. I spoke with Bob today. We're moving forward with that.
Okay.
We have a lot of scrap here, so we're going to look into some options with
The bleachers?
With the bleachers. The highway's going to plan when they get some time to strip the wood, bring the metal over here, add it to our scrap pile, and then we're going to look at trying to sell the scrap.
Good. Okay. Paul Heath should be taking care of the main water on and off. I talked to him the other day. He was not aware of that, so now he is. Barbecue blocks need to be taken over.
Can you go back? We did not get that. Paul needs to.
Okay, Paul, Manny has been saying that Paul needed to take care of the main water shut off.
Shut off?
Yeah.
I know there's been an issue with it, yes.
Yeah, and Paul was not aware of that, so I made him aware of that.
Okay.
The barbecue blocks need to be taken over to the town garage for disposal or for surplus or whatever they want to do with them, probably disposal because they aren't any good. Kayla, they would like her to put stones around the stone benches to protect them, and maybe do the wooden benches by the road as well to make it easier to mow. They had a question about whether camping would be allowed there when they have the tractor pulls. They would only like no more than 1 or 2 maybe watching over the park to do that, and nobody else to do that. And they have to have their own security. The blower, they were talking about using a blower. The blower must be battery powered, rechargeable to be kept at the park. Under new business, Lords would like to use the park for the mammogram bus in September for free, not charge. The date and time would need to be set up. So I don't know, Gail, if that's something you do.
They would just have to do a facility use request
Yeah.
and give that to us. I don't see any issue with that.
No, I don't either. They would just have to fill out the facility use request. Okay. Adoption Day was July 27th, and the next meeting is August 19th.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving down, old business.
That goes to Gail. His insurance report.
A, we had a facility use request that came from Congressman Brandisi's office so that a representative could meet with local residents for community outreach. We did approve that via telephone. And once again, I just asked for a motion to approve that so it's entered into our minutes, facility use.
So moved.
Motion's made by Terry Ives, seconded by?
Second.
Seconded by Council Member Fogarty. Any comments? Here.
It was nice to have a representative at our local town for a change.
Okay. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed?
Abstain.
Okay, and one abstention. Okay, thank you. Moving down, timber bids. We advertised them in the paper. They came in. Gail, do you have those? We were expecting 3. We received 2 timber bids on having this property logged off to promote some better forestry practices. We really don't have a lot of timber here. There were 2 bids, one from Gransbury Lumber for $6,000. It does include the non-collusive bidding form. And a second bid from Axtell Braddock Lumber over in Masonville, and their bid was $5,706. What does the board want to do with these? Do you want to take a look at them?
Did we, is there the time frame?
Microphone.
That's something we'll work on. We have a contract, and I'll talk to them about the time frame. I want it done before fall. They're supposed to be there late August, is what both companies had said. Right, we still have the old timber agreement with them. I entertain a motion to approve the Gransbury proposal for $6,000.
So move.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? I will mention that initially we went through and we simply, the company had contacted us. It fell under our procurement policy, and our original proposal was for more than what it went out to on bid. Yeah. So it actually, we paid for the price of the bid notice and so forth, legal notice, and we came up a little bit short. You know, sometimes when we take a look what our procurement policy allows when it's under $10,000, it was easier to just proceed in that manner rather than bidding things. Okay, motion's been made and seconded to accept the Gransbury logging bid. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's going to carry. Thank you. We'll notify them. I told them probably not until Monday. Moving down, we're going to take no action on the seeker. It's on the agenda. I said earlier we would not take action on that tonight. We're taking no further action on the renewable energy law either, so we're moving down. Wilkinson Junkyard. Mr. Wilkinson came in Monday, was it, Gail? Yes. And applied for a new permit for his junkyard and submitted a check for the $25. I believe the town board still has concerns that he is not meeting the requirements of the general municipal law. I've spoken with our attorney, another attorney who is handling this for us. The recommendation is that we follow procedure and have a public hearing. We have to do the public hearing not sooner than 2 weeks within which the application was made. We'll enter into the record that the application was made on Monday, but before 4 weeks. And that gives us a time frame of between August 27th and September 9th. I'm just going to throw that out there. Later, we'll be taking a look at a date for a budget workshop. It's going to be my suggestion that we try to combine those on the same night. But we will do notice on the board meeting and the public hearing on those types of things. Legal notice will be published in the newspaper. I'll try to contact interested people who live in that area who may want to come to the public meeting, and we can hear public comment. And we will see how it proceeds. We've been working on legal action with Mr. Wilkinson for over a year now. And I think we will continue to be doing so. Road use law. In your packet tonight, there is the draft road use law. Once again, I'm going to say this is reflective of concerns that have been raised by citizens with the proposed hybrid wind policy, regarding what may happen to our roadways. We're looking to address that through a road use law. Under Article 10, there is also provisions for a road use agreement, which we have received. I'll send it out to the board. Given the amount of other legal things we've dealt with, I have not looked at it. We've had it for about 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't think there's a huge rush for that right now. Definitely got more on your plate right now with the local law and the application that's pending. I don't think there's a rush on the road use agreement right now, so we can look at that. And just so you know, it's reflective of the last version our office negotiated with them. It's almost identical, so I think they're trying to just basically say, hey, this is what we negotiated before. It should be good again. But I'd like the opportunity to go through it with you, because it's probably the first time you've done one of these.
Yeah.
I'll need to explain step by step. We'll have to get your highway superintendent involved as well, because he'll be involved heavily in that discussion. So whenever, I don't know, next meeting's probably not the right time, but at some point, a work session where your highway superintendent's prepared to go through it with us would be what we should do.
Yeah, I've talked with the highway superintendent about that, and highway committee, I think, will review those things. The draft road use law was actually based on something we were looking at back when we had gas drilling. We had the law. It's been updated. It's something we're not unfamiliar with. And once again, I'm going to say I'd like to move forward with this as quickly as possible. It will be subject to public hearing also.
Did Delta do anything for any studies
Yes.
at the time? So they did a pre-roads?
Yes, we had an extensive pre-road. There was also a plan for monitoring what would happen. The town board, the highway superintendent, and other people were involved in a training session, and there was a whole booklet and so forth that would put forth. I expect we're going to have to update the engineering portion of that, the assessment of our roadways. I'll talk to Brady more about the timeline for that. I do have some ideas. I've talked to Bob.
Yeah, and here's a thought too. If you've already got a baseline study, you might be able to require the applicant in the local law or in the road use agreement
to pay
update
for
it
it.
for you, or
Right.
pay for you to do it. So
Yeah.
don't, let's think about that before you go pay Delta to do it.
But that was done, what, 2014,
I believe.
Not as old as I thought. So that would still...
Does that still qualify?
Actually, maybe, I may have misspoken. It may have been before 14, but it was a while ago. We can check the dates.
Yeah, I didn't know if there was a time frame on, how long ago it was done.
Well, no, it certainly needs to be updated. There's no question about it. But you should have, your highway superintendent should have records of what improvements have been done since 2013, so
Sure.
that
it can be updated fairly easily.
And this summer, we worked on the Cornell Rural Roads Maintenance Program. So we have some data for that. It's not an engineering study per se. It was more a road assessment, collecting data on roads, computerizing all the data and so forth that we have, and allowing the town to project the costs of maintaining the roads that we have, as well as setting up a timeline for road maintenance. Okay, once again, the draft is there. I really want Highway Committee to take a look at that, schedule some time with Bob, and it is for discussion at the next board meeting. I will ask if you have specific questions, please try to get them to us before the board meeting so that our attorney and or I or someone is prepared to answer them and we can move forward with this. New business. In your packet, we have been working on a solar lease for this property. You received, it's in your packet, the updated lease version. There were some concerns that the board had regarding the footprint of the proposed lease area. I believe that's been addressed.
This is the same one that we were sent?
No, this was updated this week as far as what you should have received.
That we received today, and I didn't see any difference there in the wording. One of the things I was concerned about had to do with decommissioning the solar panels. That there needs to be testing of the ground to make sure that there had not been anything that leached into the ground, anything toxic. And I did not see that added. And I had specifically mentioned that before.
Right. However,
I
that
thought
will
that
be
was gonna be
addressed
added.
in our renewable energy law. You know, because not only we're doing wind, we're also doing solar.
Shouldn't that be in the lease, though? I mean, really, not just it's assuming that they're going to go by the law, but putting it in the lease? Because you already started talking about it in there. You just didn't add that part.
Well, and just, I'll do my best here. Nate Van Wy in our office is the one who's worked on this one, but it certainly can't hurt to cross-reference the law, the solar law in this lease. There is an argument to be made, and I certainly would want to avoid this if that's the intent of the board, to have the law apply to them, that generally, you know, locals, this isn't a zoning law, but local zoning, your own municipality is exempt from complying with zoning. So, for example, if the town was going to build a highway garage, it wouldn't have to comply with its own. If it had a law about site plan review, for example, you wouldn't have to comply with it. You don't have to go through site plan review for your own thing. So, an argument could be made, and I would want to avoid the developer making an argument here that this is your own property, so therefore the local law doesn't apply because it's your own property and you're leasing it to someone else. So
even more reason why you would need to have it in the lease.
Right, and again, I've been a little bit hands off on this, but I would think that we could cross-reference and say that no other, notwithstanding anything to the contrary, this local law that's going to be adopted is applicable to this lease, or is applicable to this company developing the solar panels. That way you don't have to worry about all the specific concerns separately in the lease. You know, they're addressed in the local law.
And you did
That
get
needs to be in there.
You should have gotten 2 copies, and 2 copies are in your packet. There's one copy that has color notes of what was changed from previously what we had, and really what was discussed by the board as far as what we needed to do.
Yeah, well, I don't
to
believe
move forward.
that. That's the same one that was sent to me today. That it was not in there.
It's in your packets. That's what the email said today, that it would be in your packet.
No, there was a copy that was sent in the email today that I read. I think that would have been, what, number 20?
Yeah, but I'm looking at it where it says removal of the project in item 17. And it says there, and restore the premises to as close to original condition as reasonably possible. So,
But that's not addressing that particular issue, Ken.
What issue?
The issue that the soil needs to be tested to make sure that there hasn't been something toxic that's leached into the soil.
Why would you think that there would be?
Because there's
toxic-
been a lot of problem with solar panels doing that.
No, there hasn't. That's
Ken, I'm sorry, but you're
misrepresenting.
wrong. I have done a lot of
But-
research into this over the last several years, and yes, they do leach, and some very toxic substances, and we don't want to risk
Well, it
that.
would
We want
seem-
to at least make sure that before they take those panels up, that soil is tested. That's
Well,
not an unreasonable request.
It seems to me that would be implied or inferred from this sentence
You can't
that I
assume
just
that with the
read.
law. You
Could
can
I
never
speak
assume
one at a
anything's
time?
implied.
I'll listen to you. Let me know when you're finished. But it seems to me that where it says the premises shall be restored to as close to original condition as reasonably possible. At that moment, when you are dealing with it, you would say to them, have you tested the soil? Is that a reasonable thing to ask? I think it is. And we would deal with it then.
But that's going to be up to their lawyers
But we've
to
been over
interpret.
this so many times on this, and I thought the main question last time was the expansion of the land area, and I
That
don't
was
really
another question I had, a whole separate
but
question.
we dealt with that one, and I don't really recall this thing as being
Well, I'm
subject
sorry, I
to
disagree with you,
concern.
Ken. I think it's an important issue. We talked about this with windmills, with worrying about soil contamination. I'm worried also about the solar panels because
Yeah.
from my research, solar panels have notoriously had a problem with
Well,
this.
I don't recall this
Well,
much
I'm
concern
sorry,
being
but
expressed
this is
before.
this-
Maybe
yes,
it's my
I
feeble
did,
memory.
Ken.
It might
Were
be
you
my,
not listening?
It might be my
I'm
feeble
sorry.
memory, but I do listen.
Okay, I'm going to ask, I really don't think we need to have debate at the board level.
This is my question, my concern.
The lease proposal has been sent out. My thoughts on it is we have addressed the issues that the board has previously raised. There may be some disagreement on that.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a lease agreement in front of you, and Brady, I just want to check the procedure on this. You know, the board may have the option of approving the lease agreement tonight, but there also is a seeker review that is part of this. I just want to make sure that whatever timeline is or procedural order is correct, and I'm just going to refer that to you.
Yeah, so there's a seeker resolution that's been prepared. If you wanted to adopt tonight, there's a long form EAF that's been prepared. However, I was flipping through this EAF form that the applicant, the developer has provided, and you'd have to go through this pretty closely. There's a few things that are not accurate based on the way I'm reading it, and a few things that are blank here. The one thing that probably concerns me the most is that currently it's listed as an unlisted action, but there's a section here that talks about the acreage that it's going to disturb.
And it's over the 25 acres.
Well, it's one of the type 1 actions is to, give me 1 second. I want to get it right. It's activities other than the construction of residential facilities that meet or exceed any of the following thresholds. And one of them is a project or action that involves the physical alteration of 10 acres. So the question is it involving the physical alteration of 10 acres? It says it's going to cover 30 acres. The question would be, is it, by putting the solar panels there, is it altering? Is there a physical alteration of 10 acres? And it's not clear to me one way or another based on their seeker form that they filled out whether that's the case or not. I mean, one could argue that just putting them there is altering the physically altering it, whether or not, there was one pole coming out of the ground that, I wouldn't consider just the spot where the pole is touching to be altering the ground. I might consider, the whole space that the panel is, overarching to be part of the, so I think there's a good argument to be made this should be a type 1, and if there's a type 1, then you can't do this tonight, and it's partially because the form they filled out really isn't complete.
Okay, what I'm going to suggest is
I hate to say it.
I'll entertain a motion to table this tonight, and I'll get a hold of Nate and ask once again attorney review on this. This came to us through attorneys at your office, and I'm glad you picked up on this point, and I really do think we want to be careful as we proceed to make sure that we're correct. But what I'm going to ask the board is a motion to table this, and we'll take a look at that next month if we can answer that seeker question.
And usually when there is an applicant, the applicant's responsibility to fill out part 1 of the seeker. So you usually rely on them, but then you have to double check what they do. So,
sure.
I kind of assumed that they would fill it out, but they didn't fill it out correctly here. So I think whoever your contact person is at the developer, maybe you can give.
Okay. I'll call them, but I'll also talk to Nate, because Nate had some original questions, and when I got this, I thought it was good to go.
Yeah.
From them. So I'm glad you picked up on this, and I'll thank you. I would entertain a motion to table this and to take a look at the seeker. And I'll talk to Nate also about your concern, Gilda, about soil contamination and so forth as far as a responsibility, and see whether or not he thinks it's more appropriate to deal with that in our renewable energy law.
So move.
Motion's been made. Do I hear a second? Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's going to carry. Next month, if we take action on this, I'll have to have a motion to bring it off the table. I'm scheduling a budget meeting. I don't know what fits in people's calendars. As I noted earlier, we do have to do a public hearing, which we'll have to do notice on. And I'd like to try to do those both at the same night. We've had a lot of extra meetings. I would expect the public hearing to take no more than an hour on the Wilkinson junkyard. We did have one a year ago in January, and probably look to do it at 6:30 to 7 o'clock. And I need a date or some tentative dates. To meet the requirements of public hearing for Wilkinson, we have to do, it's a 10-day, I was told, notice on that. It's not a 5-day, it's something that's a little bit different, and it would have to occur between the 27th of August and the 9th of September.
Okay, the 27th of August, the 9th.
Well, the 28th is a Wednesday. Right. 29th, 30th.
Is 9th.
And the following week is...
And we also have to take a look at the calendar where the 14th, if we do legal notice, it's not going to hit the newspaper before the 19th, Gail? Would be at the earliest we can get it in the newspaper.
So what ballpark timeline do you want us to work with here then? About
Well,
what?
we need 10 days, and the 10 days here includes weekends. It just says 10 days. It is not 10 business days.
So that's the 29th.
And the second is Labor Day, so we're not going to do it that day. Do we want to...
Why don't
well,
we do August?
And once again, the 30th is heading into Labor Day weekend.
Right.
Do we want to look at maybe September 4th? It's the week before our regular meeting, but at least I can hopefully start working on the budget. I have an obligation to have the budget put together by the end of September.
What about the 28th? Is that, would that work?
It's not 10 days. It's not 10
Okay,
days.
sorry. So then at the 4th? Then I
So
guess.
we want to look to schedule a budget workshop and public hearing on Wilkinson on Wednesday, the 4th of September.
You wanna do
Do we want
7?
7 p.m.?
For you, is that going to be, you need
Depends
7?
on who's doing chores. I'll just tell them, get chores done.
Okay, you
Do we
want
want
6 or
7 p.m.? All right, at 7 p.m.
Okay.
What day? I'm sorry, I missed it. What day?
The 4th of September.
Wednesday, September 4th at 7 p.m.
Should I assume we're going to go over the local law stuff too? That meeting?
I think we'll try to do that. We'll do a
Okay.
brief agenda for that night to the public hearing. We'll follow that with the working on the renewable energy law. And if we have time, we'll do budget stuff. At least I should have all the budget worksheets.
Okay. Ideally, anybody, again, any comments on the local law, any changes, please get them to me as soon as possible. I'm going to go through all of the ones that Shenango County had and anything else we've received. But if you have anything additional, now's the time. If you have any questions for Mark,
And I have
as soon as
concerns about
possible.
the battery storage issue,
Yeah.
because I've tried to address that. It's my understanding, and I tried to get information. Gilda worked on that. I contacted the Department of Public Service. We don't have authority over NYSEG, and it's my understanding the connect to the transmission lines, which once again is regulated by Department of Public Service as well as the utility. They control the transformer station. We cannot regulate the transformer station. We have no authority to do so. The battery storage unit is going to be adjacent to, so wherever that location is going to be determined really by NYSEG and by the Public Service Commission. We certainly can weigh in on the battery storage. We were sent some documentation. Brady sent us on fire and building codes related to battery storage. We've got that document. But as far as determining where that's going to be, as far as a setback, I've asked Department of Public Service. They haven't responded yet. I'll get back in touch. I don't know if we have any control over that.
We'll see what they say.
And once again, I'll try to get an answer. But I do know we cannot regulate. We have no authority to regulate where that transformer station will be, and or where the interconnect to the transmission lines will be. Okay, moving on. So we have the date set for the public hearing. We'll do legal notice. Thank you. Do we have any reason to keep Brady here?
What else?
I don't mind if you say, but
Brady, do you want me to send
Yeah.
you information that I was talking to you about the Encore lease?
Yes, please do.
Okay. Because they were.
Okay, Brady, unless you have anything else for us, have a safe trip back. And once again, I really need to encourage the board, if there are specific things related to the renewable energy law, please get them to me or directly to Brady. I would like to be CC'd if you're going directly to Brady, so I know what's going on. And Brady, I don't know, do you have a cell phone?
Yeah.
Sometime send us your cell number, because tonight I knew you weren't in the office, and I assumed you must have checked your office messages.
Do you have a cell phone?
I do have a cell phone, but I get no service here.
Okay.
Gail has a cell phone that works here. Okay, we'll take care of that in the next couple of days. Thank you.
Thank you, Brady.
Thank you.
The Porta-John rental. Last year, I believe we had the request after the beach was closed to keep the Porta-Johns there for other people using the lake. I haven't seen a lot of kayakers there. I don't have a problem. I think Gail thought we kept it there till October 1st. If the board is okay, we could not find a resolution. I think we just agreed to do that. The billing will be broken out, and we'll probably put it under Parks and Recreation line and take it out of the summer program. We're okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll keep it there. We'll notify the Porta-John company.
Yeah, I think it'd be good.
Just as a notation, in your packets, which I think you already know, the Cornell Local Rural Roads Program Final Report. It's not daunting. It's better than what I thought as far as budgetary concerns. We're going to be a little bit short on money for future road maintenance. I just want to make sure that the board's aware of that, not huge amounts. One of the obstacles here for us is going to be what the state does. For the last 5 years, we received money under Pave It New York, which was approximately $41,000 a year. The Pave It New York money may disappear next year. It was a 5-year program, and this is the last year of the program. That will impact how we move forward. If the money remains, it's about a mile a year for us, and it's a significant amount of money. This year, we're probably spending north of $300,000 with local money as well as CHIPS money, which is highway improvement money we receive from the state. The winter recovery money, you know, that depends on the winter. You know, we've gotten it for 3 years. It was questionable this year. Probably at budget time, my proposal will be that I would like to take out that Pave It New York money. Since we have no certainty for next year, if the money comes in, we will make an adjustment in the budget and move forward. But looking 5 years out, currently I believe we're coming up about $15,000 a year short. And that's going to be local money if we want to try to maintain our roads in their current condition. Okay. Resolution in your packet. There is a resolution to put our fuel bids out.
I talked to Bob about it yesterday, and he said to keep it the same as last year, so that I just copied it and changed some dates in it. Same amounts. He said they worked good last year.
I'll entertain a motion to put the fuel bids out.
So move.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's going to carry. Thank you. Okay, once again, from the floor. Is there anything else from the floor at this point in time? Hearing nothing, we are going to have an executive session I'm going to request, and it's to discuss a appointment to a position at the town. Executive session is privileged. I'm going to thank you for coming. The board is very unlikely to take any further action tonight. And once again, thank you for being here.